Last year, I was taking creative writing, and my teacher commented on one of the stories I had written, "Why does Anna write so much about guilt?" Of course, my first reaction was, "No, I don't. That's weird." But upon reflection, I realized that her statement had some truth in it. And I wasn't writing stories about bank robbers, but I was writing stories about people who say things like this. "Hey, I should have told you about that. And I didn't. But I feel pretty bad about it, so I'm sorry." Guilt is an interesting emotion to write about because when you think about it, it requires a backstory. Something had to have happened for a person to feel guilty, which makes it this gem of an emotion for a writer. Guilt, by definition, means a feeling of having done wrong or failed an obligation, which is what my characters felt they had done. However, in the writing that I'm sharing today, for the first time, I am truthfully that character. It's only me. And I have to say something like this. "Hey, I should have told you about that. And I didn't. So I'm going to tell you now." Upon reflection, I felt in small ways that I had done wrong or failed an obligation. I'm a quiet person, I always have been, and this quietness simply translates to me not talking as much in a group of people or at the dinner table. And there's not a particularly deep reason behind me not doing so, it's just not what I'm driven to do. But just how quiet I am did not hit me until my older brother left for college. I suddenly became an only child, and the dinner table quickly became quieter than it ever had before. So yeah, you can reasonably assume here that my brother is talkative, particularly in comparison to me. But as I sat at the dinner table each night and more silence would fill the air, I began to feel bad that I couldn't bring myself to fill it. I felt guilty about the silence. And it wasn't a terrible guilt, it was just a slight wishing for something else, but it was still there, which isn't right. You see, I'm also the type of person who cares way too much about things. For example, I think about inanimate objects' feelings, which is horrifying, okay? Because as soon as you drop a gummy bear on the floor and think about how it might feel lonely, you've ruined everything. When I'm packing for a trip and I have 2 books to choose from to bring with me, I feel guilty about leaving one behind. But I haven't harmed them, and also they're books. But what I felt is, despite in these situations at the dinner table and in my packing decisions, do I deserve to feel guilty in either situation? No. And yet that quick-paced guilt still prevails. But what I have felt that more than anything, more than dinner table conversations and packing decisions, I've mostly done wrong or failed an obligation to myself. Because the trouble with being too quiet or having an unhealthy amount of empathy is that I struggle to take care of myself. I struggle to speak out about what's ailing me for a variety of reasons. And I would think about how my struggling would affect the person I turn to. And what if my struggling wasn't great enough to ask for help? See, I know that at any given moment, there are plenty of people suffering far more than myself. So who was I to have such thoughts? How could I feel the way I did or be selfish enough to believe that my emotions were truly significant? Because the truth is, there will always be people who have, are, and will feel worse than me. But it is also true that such a fact does not negate that I have, am, and will feel worse than I sometimes desire. And what has taken me far too long to understand is that whatever I'm feeling is valid. Because taking care of myself does not require me to be anything more. I struggled and I didn't ask for help. But what I have to understand is that what can no longer be accepted is feeling guilty for feeling too much or too little of anything at all, because shockingly enough, I'm human. And I have to understand that learning and struggling and caring for yourself is as much a part of life as anything else. So when I return to my written obsession with guilt, I can understand my intentions by putting myself in my character's shoes. They don't understand why they feel the things they do. They don't understand a solution beyond guilt. They don't know how to control their emotions. I don't know how to control my emotions. Or my quiet nature. Or my empathy. But I have to understand that there will always be parts of my life that I can't control. So my necessary challenge therefore lies in accepting a balance between what I can and cannot control. And then, my story will be written a little differently.